Imagine opening your eyes in ancient Rome. The same sun rises over the same city, yet what you experience depends entirely on who you are. Rome was not a single shared lifestyle. It was a city of sharp contrasts, where luxury and hardship existed side by side, sometimes separated by nothing more than a street or a wall. To understand Rome's greatness, you have to understand how its people actually lived. From the marble halls of the elite to the dark, crowded rooms of the poor. Mourning in the eternal city. For wealthy Romans, mourning were quiet and controlled. They woke in spacious homes designed to keep noise and chaos outside. These houses, known as domus, often featured painted walls, mosaic floors, and an open central courtyard called an atrium that let in light and fresh air. Slaves began the day by helping their masters dress, arranging clothing carefully, and preparing water for washing. Breakfast was light, often bread with honey, fruit, or cheese, because Romans preferred their main meal later in the day. For poorer Romans, mornings were very different. Most lived in insulae, tall apartment buildings made largely of wood and cheap materials. These structures were overcrowded, poorly ventilated, and dangerous. Fires were common, collapses not unheard of. Families often shared a single small room, and the smell of smoke, cooking, and human waste lingered constantly. Breakfast, if it happened at all, was usually stale bread or thin porridge eaten quickly before heading out to work. Housing, stone comfort versus constant risk. Housing exposed Rome's social inequality more clearly than almost any other aspect of daily life. Wealthy Romans lived in elegant villas or townhouses designed for comfort, privacy, and status. These homes were built from stone and concrete, decorated with frescoes, mosaics, and sculpted columns. Many featured inner courtyards filled with plants, fountains, and pools that cooled the air during hot summers. Some even contained private libraries, dining rooms for banquets, and indoor plumbing connected to Rome's advanced aqueduct system. Running water and sanitation were daily conveniences, not luxuries, for the elite. The poor experienced the opposite reality. Most lived in insulae, tall, crowded apartment buildings that lined Rome's streets. These structures were often made of wood and cheap materials, making them highly vulnerable to fires and collapses. The upper floors, where rent was cheapest, were also the most dangerous and difficult to access. Carrying water upstairs from public fountains was a daily burden, and toilets were rare or non-existent. Families squeezed into single rooms with little ventilation or privacy, and noise from neighbors was constant. Life in the insulae was shaped by risk and uncertainty, where survival mattered far more than comfort. Food, banquets, and bare necessities. Food highlighted Rome's class divide just as sharply as housing. For the wealthy, meals were elaborate social events designed to impress. Banquets could last for hours, with guests reclining on couches while enslaved servants presented multiple courses. Exotic dishes such as oysters, dormice cooked with honey, richly spiced sauces, and sweet cakes signaled wealth and sophistication. Wine flowed freely, diluted with water and often flavored with herbs or honey. These meals were not simply about nourishment, they were displays of power, taste, and social rank. For the poor, eating was about survival, not pleasure. Bread formed the backbone of most diets, often paired with olives, lentils, beans, or simple vegetables when affordable. Meat was a luxury reserved for religious festivals or rare public distributions. Fresh produce depended heavily on the season and market prices, making consistent nutrition difficult. Hunger was a real and constant concern for many families, and meals were repetitive and modest. While the elite dined to show status, the poor ate only to endure another day. Clothing as a social signal. In ancient Rome, clothing immediately communicated who you were and where you belonged. Wealthy men wore finely crafted white togas, sometimes edged with purple stripes that indicated political authority or elite status. These garments were heavy, awkward, and impractical, but that was intentional. Wearing a toga signaled that the man did not perform manual labor and had the leisure to move slowly and deliberately through public spaces. Poor men wore short tunics made from rougher fabric, designed for ease of movement and long hours of work. Women of high status displayed wealth through jewelry, perfumes, and intricate hairstyles arranged into complex curls and braids, often with the help of enslaved attendants. Poor women dressed simply, focusing on durability rather than decoration. In Rome, fashion was not about individuality. It was a visible system of hierarchy, reinforcing social boundaries every time someone stepped into the street. Work, power, labor, and enslavement. Work in Rome followed strict class lines. The elite rarely worked with their hands. Instead, they managed estates, invested in trade, supervised enslaved labor, and participated in politics. Success was measured not by effort, but by wealth, influence, and leisure. To work physically was often seen as a sign of lower status, regardless of skill. For the poor, labor filled every waking hour. Farmers, builders, craftsmen, porters, shopkeepers, and street vendors powered the city's economy. Many worked from sunrise to sunset just to secure food and shelter. Enslaved people formed the backbone of Roman society, performing everything from exhausting physical labor to skilled roles such as tutoring, bookkeeping, and medicine. Enslavement was based on conquest, debt, or birth, not race, and freedom was never guaranteed. Rome's grandeur rested on the labor of those with the least control over their lives. Where Rome came together. Despite extreme inequality, public entertainment created rare moments of shared experience. Spectacles were carefully designed to distract, unify, and control the population. In the Colosseum, senators sat close to the arena in shaded seats, while ordinary citizens filled the upper tiers. Everyone watched the same gladiatorial contests, animal hunts, and public executions. For a few hours, personal struggles faded beneath the roar of the crowd. Chariot races at the Circus Maximus drew massive audiences, with fans fiercely loyal to their racing factions. Class differences blurred as excitement replaced social tension. Emperors understood the power of these events, using entertainment as a political tool to maintain order and loyalty. Shared spectacle created a sense of unity in a deeply divided city. Religion in everyday life. Religion shaped every aspect of Roman life. Wealthy families sponsored temples and public rituals to display devotion and status. Poor Romans practiced faith more privately, maintaining small household shrines dedicated to protective spirits. Festivals filled the calendar, bringing processions, feasts, and time off from work. These shared rituals gave Romans a collective identity. Regardless of wealth, people believed the gods protected Rome itself, and loyalty to the city was reinforced through constant religious practice. Lessons from a divided city. Ancient Rome was a city defined by extremes. Astonishing luxury existed alongside relentless poverty, often within the same neighborhoods. Marble villas stood just streets away from crumbling apartment blocks, and lavish banquets occurred while thousands struggled to secure their next meal. Yet despite this imbalance, both worlds were deeply interconnected. The elite depended on labor to maintain their wealth and comfort, while the poor relied on Rome's economic and social systems to survive. Together, these unequal groups built an empire whose influence still shapes the modern world, from law and engineering to architecture and governance. Rome's story reminds us that inequality is not a modern problem, but neither is the human desire for dignity, stability, and belonging. The true strength of Rome was not only found in its monuments, armies, or emperors, but in the millions of ordinary people who lived, worked, worshipped, and endured within its walls. So the question remains, if you had the choice, would you prefer the power and privilege of a Roman senator surrounded by luxury and influence, or the hardship but freedom of a poor Roman navigating the crowded streets of the greatest city on earth? The answer reveals as much about our values today as it does about life in ancient Rome. If you enjoyed stepping inside the streets, homes, and hidden realities of the Roman world, make sure to like this video. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history that go beyond the statues and legends to reveal how people actually lived.